it seems like we're out with our buddies because we are. What, like I said, everything we're doing is just in that moment. I'm just trying to capture it as much as possible because it's so much fun. Really enjoy our time out there.
Are you into four-wheeling, camping, and exploring? How about off-road racing like mud bogs, short course wheel-to-wheel racing, or even desert races? Well, you've come to the right place. Welcome to 4x4 Canada podcast. My name is Wes, and I've been four-wheeling since I was 6 weeks old. I have over 20 years experience in 4x4 shops, many more than that in the off-road racing, and a lifetime of exploring the backcountry across Canada. Every week we bring you a new guest where they give you their perspective on the industry. We discuss everything from four-wheeling, overlanding, every form of off-road racing across this great country, as well as we talk to Canadian manufacturers and 4x4 shops. Just a quick reminder that if you're looking for more episodes, you can find all of our episodes on 4x4canadapodcast.com or your favorite podcast sharing platform. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at 4x4canadapodcast.com. Now let's get to the show. Does not matter if you're running a Jeep, a Toyota, getting stuck, or fixing a broken rig. It's all about sharing that experience with friends and creating memories. Our guest today is all about having safe, responsible fun while creating content for her YouTube channel. Christine, welcome to the 4x4 Canada podcast.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So you've got a YouTube channel called Mudbudz Wheeling based around the Edmonton area. For those that are interested, they can be reached at YouTube and Facebook at Mudbudz Wheeling. And Mudbudz is spelled Mudbud Z, not Z, but Z. And we'll put the links in the show notes, of course. So let's talk, first of all, your wheeling and how you got into wheeling.
When I first met my spouse here, he had this 1995 Wrangler. And I'm just like, oh, that looks like fun. And, we got into it with some friends of ours, did lots of mudding, the same as that at 6-inch lift and it had super swampers on it. And we did some mudding in the area. And then we're just like, man, we're only really mudding with these people. So let's create a group. And kind of Mudbudz was started on that. A lot of people that we were wheeling with prior to creating a group, they were heavily drinking on the trail or they were ripping up trails and that kind of stuff. And I just wasn't okay with that. So we're like, okay, well, let's create a group and then wheel with the people that have the same kind of mindset of us. So that we're safe, responsible for the land that we're wheeling on, and everyone gets to go home happy and we know broken rigs at the end of the day. Kind of where it got started.
Well, I have to commend you for taking that stance and going that route because four-wheeling, as you know, can get a bad rap, and especially out in the mud areas, the muskegs or wherever. A set of tracks will stay for many, many years. And so thank you for trying to take that extra step to start off and be proactive in the wheeling aspect.
Oh, yeah. We don't want these trails shut down ultimately. And, we were seeing that where they were shutting trails down because people were not being very kind to the environment. So just educating people on how to treat the trail is really a lot what we're about. So
now you're in Alberta and there's a new or fairly new organization in Alberta, correct? About the conservation and trail etiquette and that, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's Trails for Tomorrow.
Trails for Tomorrow, that's what it is. I'm trying to remember.
I'm actually not on it. Like I said earlier, I've got lots on the plate, but I definitely support it. I know lots of the guys that are on it, and I think that's fantastic that they're actually organizing that and putting that all together.
Yeah, good to see. I think it's still fairly new, and I do want to get one of the guys on here and we can talk about it a bit more, but it's good to see an organization coming back to the conservation of the lands in Alberta. There used to be another group years ago when I was living in Calgary called the Alberta United Recreation Society, and I don't know exactly what happened to that one, but it did end up folding. So hopefully these guys can bring along so that, work with conservation, keeping the trails open and learning and working with organizations like the Four-Wheel Drive Association of BC and the Northern Lights one in Ontario, and kind of learn from them as well as what's worked for them and hopefully build on that.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's all of these groups that kind of come and go, fly-by-night groups. We've been pretty established since 2017. My partner and I were just talking about it before he came on the podcast about how these kind of groups, they pop up, they'll get like 2,000 members or something like that. And then they don't do anything and they die.
Yeah.
I think you have to stay as active as possible and engage your core people as frequently as you can in order to stay alive. And it does take work. So a lot of these groups end up folding because it's a lot of work to keep a group going.
It is. And it's all volunteer work too, right? So, I think that, anybody does see something happening in their area, whether it's an environmental issue or if there's, talk of like the Trails for Tomorrow group holding, say, a cleanup or something like that, or just, come out and volunteer and help out however you can. And I've done a lot of work with organizations over the years through the Four-Wheel Drive Association of BC or, other four-wheel drive clubs. And even just coming out and helping out with the cleanup is a huge, huge help, because otherwise people just end up get the same 10 people end up doing it and they get burned out. Right. So they definitely need some help.
Well, I encourage any wheeler when they're out and about and they see a can on the ground, pick it up. You see, we've even taken out bumpers before on really well-used kind of trails. We've ended up taking a lot of garbage out over the years. So usually I stick it in someone's trash or room. That's only that good they're rigged because I don't want it in mine. But we end up picking up a lot of garbage when we're out and about. So
well, that's good. I definitely encourage everybody to do that. And whether you have a trash room or a garbage bag or whatever, just pick up whatever you can. It's sad when you come into a campsite and it's just absolutely disgusting. And it gives some sense of pride, of leaving it better shape than you found it. But I still don't quite understand people that just leave crap everywhere. It just does not make sense at all to me. But
I think I figured it out. And I came to a campsite and there was trash everywhere. And I was like, why? Why do this? And I think what ended up happening is at the end of their camping trip, they just threw it in their kind of makeshift fire pit. Oh, thinking the next person will just burn it. And then it blows all out. And I think that's what ends up happening quite often. So when that happens, I usually take a garbage bag and I pick up all the garbage that I can find. And I cuss about it a lot. Make sure that you're burning everything or taking out everything that you've got. Hopefully just take it out.
Yeah. Well, I definitely appreciate you doing that. Every little bit helps. That's all I can say on it, right? So, but hopefully we'll the Trails for Tomorrow crew on the podcast. We can talk a bit more about that and conservation and trail etiquette, keeping the whole Tread Lightly program is coming up into Canada as well too, with Brian Pratt from C is heading that up. And the way I look at it is I treat it like my own yard, almost kind of idea. And I want our kids to go out there when they're our age and bring our grandkids out and still be able to enjoy this. And if people keep on trashing it and ruining the lands, then they're going to keep on shutting them down. And there's been lots of that in Alberta already in the last couple of years, right?
There has been, but also in Alberta, some of our favorite trails, they've shut down because they mined it or they forested it or something like that. There was one to the top of Red Cap Mountain that was just gnarly. Like it was so much fun and it's gone. It's all gone. So
it's interesting how we're not allowed to make a new trail, and this is probably a whole other topic for another discussion, but how we're not allowed to make a trail just, through the trees or whatever, but how forest companies can totally devastate millions of acres. And I'm in the forestry industry. I make a very good living in the forestry industry, but I just hate going to seeing all these clear cuts. You can't even walk through a clear cut, but yet we can't make a trail that's even 100 feet long kind of idea, or we'll get fined, right? It just blows me away.
Yeah. Well, you're not, the wheeler isn't paying to do it. So the government said no.
That's, exactly right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your channel, Mudbudz Wheeling on YouTube. How did you get into doing the videos? What brought that on?
So we wheeled all in 2016 and we would take little shots and snippets on our phone and we would show our friends like, oh, look at what we were doing. And then I had like a tiny little bit of video editing experience from high school and doing other little videos for people, but it's not like I'm a professional at it at all. And they're like, we should like put it all together. And I was like, yeah, that'd be great. And they're like, oh, but then who's going to have it? I'm like, well, we'll throw it up on YouTube as a private thing. And then, we can access it anyway. And I didn't make it private. And we started just sharing it all over. And because they're like, look at our wrap up video. And then it kind of just started from there. It's just like, I should make another video. And then we did a winter trip up to Moody Falls, which was like beautiful and stunning and it was so much fun. And then I just started making videos from every single trip that we were doing. And Mudbudz got started. I didn't want to become a YouTuber. It was not exactly something I was planning on, but it just kind of happened.
It's funny how that does kind of happen with some channels, how they just pick up and people love the content. And that's one of the things I do like about your content is that you guys are very relatable. You get some channels that are very, very popular and they're absolutely incredible with drone shots and cinematography, but I don't know, it's something about channels like yours and a couple others that I do watch that the people are more relatable. It looks like it's me and my friends out wheeling in an area that I don't wheel in, I'm in BC and you're up in northern Alberta, but it's neat to see the other train in that, but I could totally tell that it's like totally relatable. It's like me and my buddies wheeling kind of idea, right? And I think that being relatable is becoming very popular.
Yeah, but there's been times in which we've had people who've seen the channel and, they've come up to us and they're like, I feel like I know you. I'm like, that's crazy, but wonderful all at the same time. So, and then of course they become like really close friends. Actually, the woman who said that to me, she's one of my admins on the group now because she's just so diehard. But it seems like we're out with our buddies because we are. Like I said, everything we're doing is just in that moment. I'm just trying to capture it as much as possible because it's so much fun. Really enjoy your time out there.
And that's basically what it's all about, right? If you're not out there having fun, then why bother going kind of idea, right? So,
right.
And yeah, so you've recently been posting a series of videos on what you call the Mudbudz Adventure Challenge. Looks like some really fun trails. And of course, a few days with some really good friends. Let's talk a little bit about that and those videos.
Well, so Mac, we call it just Mac, Mudbudz. And it's a play on Ultimate Adventure Challenge. So it started in 2017. And the first year, just a weekend. It was just a weekend. And it's a free event and we have people come out, but we have the sweepstakes and we do prizes and trophies and the whole 9 yards. It actually ends up being quite a large event because last year we didn't have a lot of people because a lot of people were just coming back from it, but we've done it in 2017, 2018, 2019. And then it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. It ends up being quite a community event. We do lots of team building things like we didn't this year, but in the previous years, we make a giant teepee with, a huge wood pole in the middle of it. And that holds 100 people. And that in itself, gathering teepee poles, it's such a community building thing. Gathering firewood's a community building thing. And then, of course, we're running trails all the time. Very relaxed. I used to try and schedule it. And I'm like, nah, you guys, here's where the trails are. You guys will have fun. I just brought you all together. But we do a pig roast while we're out there. We do a Barbie Jeep race because why not? This last year was a Barbie Jeep relay race and I don't have the video and that we had teams and challenges and it's a whole lot of fun. Macy is our big event that we do every single year. Like I said, it's 100% free to come out to. There's no fees to come out to it. The only thing we ask is if you want to have the pig roast, you pay for the meal. But everything is free and it'll always be free because this hobby is so expensive. Why would I charge someone else to come out?
Well, that's great because
just love it.
Just the gas to get out there is expensive, right?
And I think that was actually one of the biggest reasons why we had more numbers this year. We still had 60, 70 people showed up, but we had lower numbers this year because gas was I mean, so many people say I can't afford to come out because we barely didn't buy cash.
Yeah.
So,
that's great. It sounds like a lot of fun. Looking at the videos, I think there's 4 videos, I think, out now of the
Yes.
weekend. It just looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah. The nice thing about Grand Cache and there is that there's not a whole lot of already very good, and it has some amazing things. I think it's just because it's so off like the beaten path that no one's really
Yeah.
going to it. It's not like movie five where everyone's going to it. There are some, and some of the trails are interesting.
Well, Mount Hamel, is it Mount Hamel? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah,
H-A-M?
Hamel. Yeah.
Yeah, Mount Hamel. Looks like he's got some pretty wicked ruts and stuff there. So, and a great view.
Yeah, those are all.
Getting to the top.
Those are all
washouts. By
washouts.
the looks of it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're needing like a minimum of a 33-inch tire. Our one buddy did get to the top in his YJ without lockers because I'm pretty sure he's not any wider than a quad. I can tell you,
You're
when
right.
quadders see us up there in full size vehicles, they're like, how'd you get up here? Spotters.
Well, I was watching some of the
spotters,
videos
so
and I'm like, with my Tacoma, I'm like, I don't think I could do that with those washouts with my Tacoma and the 33s, even with a locker in the back. I was like, I'd be really pushing. And if it was wet, there's no way I'd make it up there. So
yeah, it's an interesting trail. One area we now call Chad's Rut because he got stuck there like 3 times and almost booked his like 90,000 JO like 3 times. Those are some interesting areas, and like he's running 40s.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of gross, and it's not like he's an inexperienced healer. He'd never take anyone who was inexperienced up there, but
No,
he's running
definitely
40s,
not.
and everyone knew what that did on 40-inch tires. Now that being said, we had stock vehicles on those trails as well, and we had stock friendly trails during that NBC time. We always try to pick an area that, even if you are brand new, will take you out and put you somewhere where we know you're going to get to. I never take anyone out in an area that I know they're going to not have a very good time or damage their leg or hurt themselves or anything like that. I'm not going to put anyone in any kind of danger.
That's great to hear, because you don't want to get people, you want to get people a little bit out of their comfort zone, but you want to make sure that they're going to be safe doing it, and even if they don't want to push a vehicle, they don't have to. And if they do, they can, but you want to make sure that they're going to be safe doing it and not causing more problems, right? That's great.
And I mean, we've put ourselves in some precarious situations before, but we always get out of them. For 99% of the time, we always get out of them and always, get our way home. Once we had to move a vehicle out on a trail, dude was on 54-inch flotation tires and broke some steering components, and we just literally had to come back with parts. So nothing like leaving you rig with these huge tires out on the trail somewhere. That was terrifying for him. So called Fishing Feathers, told him that the rig is out there and we'll come back the next weekend. And please don't helicopter it out of there.
Yeah, no doubt.
So,
but yeah, that's got to be scary, leaving a big rig that you got a bunch of money into, leaving it out there for a week. I mean, it's bad enough one day, but a week, it'd be nerve wracking, right?
And it does happen where you literally just don't have enough tools in order to come back, like a sector shaft or something like that. And because Jake, they like to break their sector shaft, and you have to come back with parts. There's no way of getting it back without parts.
Yeah, there's nothing that you can do on it. So, it is what it is, and you've got to deal with it, right? So, yeah. Now, beyond your videos of wheeling, which, like I say, I really do enjoy, you've had a couple of some other interesting videos. One of your older videos from last year was comparing the Power Fist rooftop tent from Princess Auto versus the Smittybilt tent, and that's one of your more popular videos. In that video, you discuss the similarities like size and fabric, as well as some differences. The Princess Auto tent doesn't have the roof vents, which can be nice in the summer. That video is about a year old now, I think, year and a half old now.
Yeah.
Can you give us a little bit more information about that video and a update on how the Princess Auto tent has held up?
Well, we still have our Smittybilt, but my buddy ended up selling his Power Fist, and it wasn't for any reason like, oh, well, it's crap or anything like that. He actually ended up selling it because he himself has done like fully nomadic and bought a trailer, and he was just like living his best life. So he's just
Good
like,
for him.
I don't really need I don't really need the tent anymore.
Yeah.
But he had it out a couple of times. I still don't think that the fit and finish on it was as good, but
Okay.
price point, it was still a great tent for the price point.
Well, I think you saw a
They
lot of
have,
people watching your video this year when the Princess Auto brought out even more overlanding stuff, and this summer they had some really good prices on some of their stuff.
yeah, and you know what? It's a great kind of base model tent to get into. I personally think that the City Built is also a base model tent to get into. I can tell you that paying the price for the prices that they want for a tent kind of just makes me go, yeah. But they are.
I hear you.
Cool.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I ended up getting my Sven Bolt for dirt cheap because Dwayne watches Kijiji like a hawk. So he's a bit of a Kijiji master when it comes to these things. So always find you the best deal in that one. The power fist was good. The mattress was crap in it. The mattress
Okay.
ended up being kind of crap in it, but he honestly didn't have it long enough to compare it, which is why the index showed no comparison to the air. So he only had it out like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how those Princess Auto ones hold up over the next couple of years. They got the tents, then they got the awnings, and they've even got like a slide out kitchen too. So it is all China stuff. But yeah, they have a slide out kitchen, and I saw somebody had bought one and they said it looks okay, but they hadn't put any time into it, right? So
yeah,
after 2 or 3 years, it'd be interesting to see how they hold up.
Yeah, I wish he would have kept it, but like I said, he had to go live all of our dreams, which are my friend in his nomadic tent and his wife, and you can just go away.
Yeah, I often daydream of that while I'm at work, living a nomadic life.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's actually rural, kind of in the other part of the world. He had gone back to the island now, so.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
You can laugh at him because Vancouver Island got hammered with snow last week. So,
I am laughing at him.
I was watching some of your older videos and I found them really interesting. Speaking of the tent thing, and doing research, I kind of went back a bit farther because I had seen them earlier, but I wanted to, touch base on them again. But the overlanding on a budget where you went into Cabela's and you went to the dollar store to compare prices and products. That was really interesting.
And it's funny because a lot of the products that we have, like that I carry in my overlanding kit, like I think I have a collapsible bucket from Dollarama of all things I've had for 4 years. And it's not showing any signs of wear. It's still together. And then, I think I paid $4 for it. And then I've seen that same bucket or a similar one at Cabela's for like $25. And I go, why? Why would you pay this? And that kind of started that video where it was like, I bet you can find this stuff way cheaper. And it's practically the same stuff.
Yep.
Overlanding to me doesn't have to be expensive. Get new stuff, get old stuff, compare prices. It doesn't have to cost you $10,000 to set up. So, but everybody wants brand new. And I understand that and I can respect that. And I look at like my stepdaughter who wants to desperately get into this kind of backcountry camping. And she's like, well, it's so expensive. I'm like, it doesn't have to be. So that's when we kind of made that overlanding on a budget video because I'm just like, prices are crazy for these things.
It is, you're 100% right. And I'll be the first one to admit that, I've got some used gear on my own that I picked up at Kijiji or Facebook Marketplace. And there's a few things that I want to go brand new just for, because I know, the brand or something like that. But yeah, there's definitely like my stove was a secondhand stove that somebody's cleaning out their garage. And it's a single burner. It's got a grill on the other side. And it's like brand new. And they're like, you want it? And I'm like, sure. And I've had it for like 6 years now. And I go out a lot camping. And it's, now it's getting to the point where I think it's time to replace it. But there's so many things that you can see on Kijiji or Facebook Marketplace that just keep an eye out. And, cast iron stuff is, on there all the time.
Yeah.
There's so many, like your tent, for example. That's a perfect example, right? So it's,
there are some
and you don't necessarily have to.
Worth it gold. Like,
definitely there's some things you want to go with a Yeah. You don't want to go with the dollar store version of
they're worth it. Don't get the knockoff version of that because they're definitely super, super helpful. Now, that being said, I'm pretty sure that I got my Jetboil secondhand as well, but it's still a Jetboil. And I've got friends that go, oh, I really want one. And I'm like, yeah, it does kind of make a difference. I did a solo overlanding trip and I was like, I'm going to do everything over the fire. And I brought my big cast iron pan and all that kind of stuff. And then I didn't count on it raining for the first day and a half. And so here I am, and I'm in my tent and I'm starving. I'm like, oh, I have my Jetboil, and I grabbed some soup and I made some soup, and because it was just, and I didn't even have time to put up tarps or anything, so I'm hiding underneath my rooftop tent and making soup and just contemplating why I get ever go solo camp.
I think there's certain things you want to go with it with a name brand, like Jetboil and even other camping stoves. Like you go with a Coleman, it's going to be fairly good. There's some things I probably wouldn't buy used, like I don't know if I would buy a sleeping bag used, but a lot of times you go, yeah, that's kind of my thoughts as well. But there's lots of things that you can get, in Walmart or your dollar stores, like you say, that, Walmart's got some cheap, for people just starting out, some cheap camping gear that you can get into for $100 or $150. You get, those tents and a sleeping bag and whatever, right? But for people just starting out, it'll work fine. It'll work fine for a year or so until you decide that's what you want to do. And if you want to upgrade later on, you can, right? So,
yeah, and I think that's what the point of that being like is just to say you don't have to spend a grand on camping gear if it's like your first time that you're getting out. You can go and spend $200 on camping gear, and then if you're like, man, this is not for me, and then you're only $200 up instead of $1,000. So that's kind of where that video was, just to show that there was other places that had that gear. I think I got cutlery from the dollar store, and it's literally like the best camping cutlery I've ever gotten. It's never sent. It's never deteriorated in any way. It is literally the best camping cutlery I've ever had. So some of the stuff is, it's pretty good quality, and some absolute garbage. You have to watch.
Yeah, when I moved back from Toronto, I sold off everything back there, and I flew over, and that's all I had was what was with me on that airplane. And so when I was I wanted to get back out camping right away, and I didn't have the cash to buy everything all brand new. So I actually went to some secondhand stores. And speaking of cutlery, I bought my cutlery there. I bought pots and pans, but camping pots and pans there. I bought the dishes. I bought a whole bunch of stuff at a secondhand store in regards to kitchen stuff for maybe $10, $15, maybe $20 or whatever. That would cost you, a lot more brand new, right? So, another example. It doesn't have to be brand new to work.
I think some of our some of the plates and stuff that we have are like 1960s Pyrex plates. Like, exactly. They're never going to deteriorate. Like the world could end and those plates would still be in perfect condition. And again, it's, reusing instead of buying that. So.
Well, a lot of things, that brings up a whole other point. A lot of things that are older, everything now is such a disposable, everything that we do is so disposable in regards to even plates or, silverware or, plastic forks and spoons and all that stuff. We live in such a disposable world now, and you go back and you look at some of these things that, 60s, 70s, and 80s, like that Pyrex. Like, I know that some of my camping gear that I bought used, I still have it. I still use it all the time. It's 12 years later. They'll probably still using it another 12 years farther down the road, right? Because it lasts.
Yeah, unless it's broken, I'm not replacing it. So.
Exactly. And even my kayak, I had a friend who had one of those Costco kayaks, and he was moving, and he asked if he could store it at my place for a little bit. Like, sure, as long as I can use it. So I started off using that, and then I bought a new Costco one, and then I moved up into a longer kayak, a used longer kayak, and then I upgraded it to another higher end used again kayak. And that's a whole nother thing too. So you don't have to spend a whole bunch of money to start off to decide if you actually like it. And with the kayaks, I decided I loved it, and I decided I need something better. And I just kept on upgrading through used, and it's just, you don't have to go buy brand new.
until you want to make that decision. That, man, I want something brand new and this is exactly what I want. And then spend the money. Absolutely.
Yep.
But,
Yep. But I mean, if I'd gone and spent, say $2,000 on a kayak and I decided I didn't like kayaking, and then turn around and sell for $1,500 or whatever, right? Like,
yeah.
Well, either you can borrow it or you can get secondhand or buy less expensive stuff until you figure out what you want to do, for sure. Another one of your videos that I thought was really good was what to carry for emergency and recovery gear. So if someone was just getting started, what would you recommend for, say, 5 basic wheeling gear, non-recovery related, and then how about some recovery related gear?
The first thing I suggest to everybody, get a fire extinguisher. You have to have them. And there's reasons for that. You totally didn't set a Jeep on fire. So it's not on YouTube. But carry a fire extinguisher because it literally can save your life. It can save the area. It obviously can save your rig. Have a fire extinguisher. I know that there are flare type ones in which you just set them off and they're one use only, but they never need to be recharged. They last forever kind of thing. They're a little more expensive. I think they're about $120. But again, you never know when you're going to need it.
I have one that is like that. Yeah, I have one that's like that. And it's it's almost like a spray can kind of idea. And it's nice because it's small. It doesn't take up a lot of space, right? So
right. Some kind of communication device. Carry your cell phone with you. You never know when you're going to get service. Radio, those kinds of things. I strongly recommend having some kind of food. We have been out on the trail sometimes where we've been out for, it's supposed to be a 3-hour trail ride and we were out for 13 hours. And your body needs energy, right? So carry some kind of like military ration or some kind of a prepared meals from the Cabela's or something like that. But carry some kind of food, even if it's a protein bar or beef jerky or something like that. Food is very important. Because if you were starving, your brain's not working.
Yeah.
So a first aid kit, please, for the love of God, get a first aid kit and then know how to use it. Yeah. And then a blanket, get a wool blanket because wool will keep you warm even if it's wet, or an emergency blanket. One of those simple ones. I have one of those and a packing blanket always in my Jeep at all times. And when you said, I know you said plastic. A handsaw, have some kind of handsaw or shovel.
Excellent idea.
Something to start a fire with. So those are my very basic list of things that I'm like, just carry these things with you. Learn from my mistakes.
Definitely excellent ideas.
We have been out and about and just starving, And then
one of the things that I've done. Sorry, one of the things that I've done is I've got a backpack that I had for years, but I just threw I keep a bunch of stuff in it. So spare socks.
Yeah.
Because, our feet always get wet. And then, like I say, some energy bars, some Cliff bars or beef jerky or stuff like that. And just, I call it it's almost like a bug out bag kind of idea where I've got, some fire starter and I've got, a few things that like an extra toque and extra mitts and stuff that'll, help keep me dry. And then I got some of those hand warmer things. And even in the summertime, because it can get cold if you're up at the top of the mountain or whatever, right? Some of those heat packs that you put in and just a few things. And I always keep it in the vehicle. And I think that's something everybody should have. It doesn't have to be a great big backpack. It just could be a little pack sack kind of idea and just throw some of the basics
I have
in there.
almost an ammo can. But and then
exactly.
Like this mini build backrest that have all that stuff in it.
Yeah.
I am way more prepared than your average bear when it comes to what I keep in my Jeep all the time. But the really basic things, a bug out bag is a fantastic thing to have because you never know. You never know when you need a new set of clothes or socks or something like that.
And even like you're mentioning the blanket, they've got those, you can find them anywhere, Canadian Tire or even the dollar store for that matter. But they've got those little emergency blankets and they go so small and they can fit even in your glove box, right? So there's just no excuse for carrying that. And one other thing I will mention, we touched base on the first aid kits. And I think first aid kits, everybody should have a first aid kit, even if it's one from Costco or whatever. But 2 thoughts on that. One is put more of your own stuff in it. So like your ibuprofen or any of that kind of stuff, as well as there's other options too. And I'm going to throw a plug out to wildmedkits.ca. The listeners of the program can get a 10% discount by using 4x4 Canada discount at wildmedkits.ca. There's my plug, but it's not just a plug because I don't actually get anything back from it, but such a great guy. And we had a really good episode. Can't remember the number offhand, but it's worth listening to because he talked about the kits, and the kits are great. And he supplies these first aid kits. I had a lot of questions on what to do because I haven't done a wilderness first aid training. And the first aid training I'd done before, 90% of it was like CPR and defibrillators, which is totally useless out there, right? So what you touched base on is knowing how to use it was just absolutely huge. That, most people have no idea how to splinter an arm or how to stop bleeding properly or what to do in the case of a burn or frostburn or whatever. So I definitely think the listeners, please listen to that podcast because Wild Med First Aid, you talked a lot about, what to do for burns, what to do for frostbite and stuff like that. And also they do have a little quick reference guide that's on sealed cards. And so you can toss that in your glove box or toss that in your first aid kit. And just in case, you're the one that's hurt and somebody else needs to know what to do, they can go off those cards and get some of the basics, right? But yeah, knowing what to do is almost more important than having the first aid kit.
I'm just writing down that title because I'm going to have to look them up. Yeah, we come across a couple of times on the trail. We came across a woman one time. She wasn't in our party. She'd gotten thrown from the side-by-side. They were hammered. They were trying to drift around corners. Like they were just not being super safe.
Yep.
And we came across this woman and she had a head injury. Ambulance couldn't get down to her. A helicopter couldn't land. Our only option was to take her back up, which is we gotten guidance from the paramedics. So we ended up very slowly putting her in someone's truck and getting her all the way back up. But, we came across somebody with a head injury and she wasn't in our party. Embarrassingly, I broke my ankle way too many times on the trail and needed stuff from my first aid kit. So having it and then knowing where it is and having it accessible is something that I wish that more people would do. Just right along.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, 100%. And one of the things that, it was funny because the day before I did the interview with him, there's a few of us were up in the Alpine mountaintop and we talked a little bit about the interview coming up. And I was like, what do you guys think, for other questions I should ask him? Stuff like what questions do you have? And we're talking, I said, because what would happen if I slipped here and I fell down this 100-foot embankment and I broke my leg? What would we do? And we're like, I don't know, kind of idea, right? So it's even just, learning the basics of the wilderness first aid stuff. And the other thing that he did say that if you go to his website, the wildmedkits.ca, on his first aid kits, he's like, in reality, I'd like you to buy my stuff, but he goes, you don't have to. He goes, sometimes it's more expensive to just ship it from Ontario, than it is for the product. So all his kits that he has a full listing of everything that's included in those kits. And he has refill kits. He has refill kits for bandages or for burn stuff or whatever. And he goes, you can just take that list and go to, wherever to get your supplies because it's not worth it to ship it kind of idea. But he does have a really nice kit that I bought that goes to the back of the headrest. And I'll be doing actually a YouTube review on that tomorrow. And it's a really, really nice kit. It's expensive. It's, over $200, but it's got everything that you need. So
yeah.
So sorry to get sidetracked on that. It's just something that I really feel strongly that everybody should have. What about recovery stuff?
You should always have some kind of strap. Always have some kind of recovery strap. I think at the last event that I was at, there was a girl, she told me she was going out for the first time the very next day. And I asked him, like, do you have a strap? And she's like, so I go into the back of my Jeep and I just give her mine. I'm like, I will buy it. And she's like, really? I'm like, you need a strap. So you should always have some kind of recovery strap, some kind of shackle. I'm a big fan of the soft shackles, but the metal shackles are just as good. I really like my kinetic rope. kind of gets you more
Yes.
snap when you're trying to get out of things. Be very wary using them near water. However, they can, if you're pulling too hard and they're full of water, they can react not kindly. They can snap. I think one of the biggest things you should have. Oh yeah, and you can't use a kinetic strap under that.
Never thought of that.
It just diminishes its effectiveness, like its pulling strength.
Yeah.
So
no, that makes sense.
Just be aware of these things. A buddy of ours, he had one. They were pulling someone on the strap was underwater and it snapped.
Yep.
It broke. So
gotcha.
Big ticket item that you should probably invest in if you're going to be off-roading is a winch. Probably have a winch. There is, don't be Chad on Mount Hamill. You've never really used winches. So might put one on his Jeep and then would desperately needed one.
See, I have to admit that's going to be me. I do a lot of solo four-wheeling because everybody, got families and that. So, and I'm always trying to get out as much as possible, and not everybody can make it, right? So everybody's like, you got to get a winch on your truck. And I'm like, I know.
You don't have a winch on your truck?
I don't. Everybody bugs me about it. I'm like, I know. I had one on my TJ and I use it all the time, but I got to get that done. So, but
yeah, especially if you're going solo at all. Like, don't do that.
I know. I know better. I know better. It is on the top of my priority list for this spring. So,
yeah, they're important to have. So, and then the last thing on my list, I would say, is probably like some kind of tree saver, so that you're not putting a winch line directly around the tree. You can also use your stop as tree saver. Again, just treading lightly, not damaging that tree that's probably older than you are
by many, many years. The other one thing that I'd probably add to your list, which I think was a great list, is a shovel.
Yes, I had a shovel in the upper in my first list.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you did mention that earlier. That's right. Sorry.
I did. Yeah. Shovels are very important. And make sure it's like a sturdy shovel.
Yeah. You can.
Shovel.
Yep. Yeah. It just, even yesterday, like mentioned, off air, that we were up and a foot or two of this crappy snow, and shovels just saved our day. With just, so shovels have saved my ass more than once.
Yeah. So probably could have been a shovel. I was going to say that a shovel saved my butt more than the winch has, but that's.
The other thing I wasn't 100% sold on until recently was recovery boards. I don't know if you've used them.
I can't say that I have them. I've always wanted to get them, but I don't.
Well, because they look so cool at the mall, right? But I wasn't until the last year or two. I wasn't really super sold on them, but I've found that they've helped more in the snow, in the winter wheeling is where I've found that they worked. Like yesterday, for example, it worked quite well. And on the last little bit, we actually we had 4 boards, and we ended up putting one in each front of each tire, and then in front of those boards. So we had double the length. And that's actually what really helped us out, was doubling up on them. And they seem to work really well in the snow. I haven't used them in mud or anything like that. We don't really have sand over here. So, but yeah, in the wintertime, they've definitely got my respect now. I thought they're more of a fancy overland thing just to get your money, but they do work.
They are useful. I put something that is your brain like a little snow wheeling, like making stuff if the snow is crappy, it's very slippery. Tire chains.
Yes.
Tire chains on the way. And they're getting easier and easier to put on. They used to be so complicated to put on, but they're getting easier and easier. Yep. There's been plenty of times in which we get out in the trail and you didn't bring them, and you're like, should have got the tire chain. But a traction board, if you can keep it on the ring, definitely.
Yes. Well, like you say, they look so good when you're at the mall too, right? You get the bright orange ones. That's the best.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they definitely have gotten more of my respect over the last couple of years for sure. So, and tire chains, I've been thinking about that, but if I was to get tire chains, I would probably end up wanting to go out more, and I'm not a huge fan of winter wheeling anyways. So I'm like, but tire chains is definitely a really good idea.
Winter wheeling is that there's no mud to clean up after you've done.
That's true. That's true. And I have to admit, we've got a couple guys, like one of my best friends, he's running 40s and loves his snow wheeling. And you go down to Kelowna and you got those Kelowna snow wheeler guys. They're all running, 50s and stuff like that, 50s and 1,000 horsepower. And I got to admit, that looks like fun. But on my Toyota, digging me out every 20 minutes is not all that fun.
Winch.
Just one of those. I know I need a winch, yes. So what are some of the things you wish you knew before you started wheeling?
I was having a conversation with my husband right before we came on the air about this, because I'm like, I think you just kind of like learn as you go. But one of the things would be to find someone to go with that knows the trails. It can take you to a trail that they know you'll do. They'll know you'll be able to do, or be able to coach you to a tough spot, but and not taking you past an area that your rig's not going to make it. Even if you're the best driver in the world, the rig's not going to make it. And just having that person to go with and to learn from, I think, is the biggest thing that a new leader should really look at finding. Dwayne, she wheeled before I met him, but it's something that I always make sure that I'm going with somebody who has more knowledge than I do.
Yep,
and is willing to share that knowledge, and not going to take you out and leave you out in the sand pits of gruel or something like that. And because that's happened. And not to me, where you're not going to get abandoned out there and then get yourself into trouble. You're going to have someone who's going to lead you properly and take care of, you, so that you're getting out safely. So just knowing somebody who is going to mentor, I guess.
And that really sort of leads right into my next question too. Clubs can be very good for that too, right? There's some Facebook orientated clubs, and there's real in-person clubs as well. And what are some recommendations for Edmonton or Northern Alberta, where some good 4x4 clubs or groups to take newbies out on the trails?
Well, I'm going to plug my own group here. We've always been very newbie oriented. If someone can't, in our group, if I know that they can't do the trail that we're going on, I'm going to tell them straight out. It's not like a lack of your ability. It's, you're just going to have to stay on this one. We'll take you out somewhere else. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But generally, anything that we're hitting up as a club run, because we try to do club runs once a month. But unfortunately, my rig's been down for a while. It's up now, but it's been down for a while. But we try and do club runs in which everyone can come out to. It's going to be a stop run. So Mudbudz Wheeling is one that I would highly recommend, because we're all.
So Mudbudz Wheeling on Facebook. That's probably the easiest way to.
Yeah, we're on Facebook. I got a couple of websites and that kind of stuff. So we are reachable for sure. And I've had lots of people reach out to me that way. I've had people reach out to me on Instagram saying, "Hey, can we go wheeling?" And I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." A couple of years back, I actually had a fellow from LA, and he was doing basically a product review in JLU. And he had contacted me and said, "I'm coming down from Alaska. Can you take me off-roading?" So we took him to Canada. We have the crap out of his, basically stopped JLU. He worked for autoblog.com.
Oh, yeah.
He was another guy that just contacted me online. So I'll reach out. We take lots of movies out. There's other groups in Edmonton that actually have pretty big basis, like Dirt Church is an Edmonton-based, it's an Edmonton-based Facebook group. They don't wheel, but, people in there at their coffee meets, and you can go find groups to go out with.
Right.
And then another group that's as fairly active as we are is Aorta. The only unfortunate part is there are a lot of newbies, but they are very active. So, but they're more regular based than anything. So for newbie groups, that's who I would recommend. There's tons of really good 4x4 groups in Alberta with guys, that have lots of experience, and they're cool dudes. Red Deer Jeep pack rats, and it's a bunch of really cool dudes. They don't necessarily always take up movies, but they're good guys to go with.
Good. Well, we'll definitely, like I say, we'll put some links to Mudbudz in the show notes for sure.
Awesome.
And I agree 100% with you. Just get out with some people that, and especially let them know that you're a newbie as well too, right? So don't be afraid to say, "I'm a new person. I'm just getting into this," or I just bought my Jeep or my Tacoma or whatever. And there's no harm in saying that. And that will actually go over better than giving this false sense of, security or whatever, or skill or whatever, right? So.
And never be afraid to ask
one of the
spotter.
100%. Yeah. I asked for a spotter lots of times and I got no problem saying it because otherwise I'll just get myself into trouble if you don't sometimes, right? So one of the other things, I don't think you guys have been to it, but the Alberta Outdoor Expo is another event.
Yeah.
That's a fairly popular event, but if anybody's new or even has, lots of experience, it's definitely an event worth checking out. I believe it's up towards the Hinton area every September long weekend. Hinton or Edson are between them or something like that. But they've done a really...
It's out on rodeo grounds. The dude who organizes it, he's a friend. We met him a couple of years back. I think we were actually buying half-loaves off of him and then ended up going for coffee. And believe it or not, that's where he had kind of gotten the idea to, hey, I should do a YouTube channel. He credits me for this all the time. But
that's awesome.
He's put on
Jay Jason from Alberta Overland. Yeah. He's got a good little channel. He's a fun guy. So but they've done a really good job with that expo.
That expo's don't played exponentially. I never make it out because I usually have something that you can bend away with. I think last year so
definitely a tough weekend for you for sure. So but it's for people wanting to learn, that's another option to go to, right? So
and then there's always there's always guys out there who are actually just there who visit as well. So if you ask them, great guys.
Yeah. I think I'm actually going to try pretty hard to get out to the expo next year. There's quite a crew of BC guys that go out and everybody raves about it. So I think I'm going to try and give it a shot. And
I highly recommend
attend it for sure. So the other thing for our non-Alberta people is to look out for courses as well. So the last thing we ask every guest is, what Canadian would you like to listen to on the 4x4 Canada podcast?
We were just talking about him. I think that you should bring Jason on here if you haven't already. Like I said, he's a good guy and he's pretty chill. I know I've interviewed him before, and so that's who I think you should bring out. Overland, Alberta. Yeah, is the groups that he runs. And of course, he's got his YouTube channel there as well.
Yep. Yeah. He's a really busy boy because he does some social media for some of the Ultra 4 racing guys. And he's got his hands in everything. Definitely be a good guy to talk to for sure. So,
or you should go bug Eric Blinker in Red Deer.
Eric
Blinker, he runs a shop called Great Fab. He does the Ultra 4 racing.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've interviewed him
definitely.
before too. He's
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've got Jason on the list, but I'll throw Brink Fab on there as well too. So sure.
Yeah, he's gonna love to anyway.
Oh, one of them. I'd love to talk to Blind Band Overland. He's got his Yucca Pack campers, and I have to really admit that I've been really jonesing for one of his Yucca Pack campers, and so I know that I won't be able to afford to buy a brand new one this year, but I definitely want to talk to him about it. And I think it'd be a good show as well, too. So, and he's just outside of Red Deer, too.
Yeah. There's lots of places down in that area. Like one of the YouTubers that's up in the open area at all.
Awesome. Well, Christine, thank you very much for coming on the show. Again, we're talking to Christine from Mudbudz Wheeling, and they can check them out on YouTube or on Facebook, probably the best bets. But they got some really fun videos, really relatable videos, I find, and which is one of the things I really enjoy about them. So once again, thanks for coming on, Christine. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. Anytime.